Alright, so my jack over here was no longer lifting this car, so I'm going to go ahead and do some maintenance to see if I can fix this issue. So the first thing I wanted to do was remove this plate, 4 screws holding it, and then you'll get access to a hydraulic pump. Next, going to go ahead and loosen this rod all the way to the left. As you can hear it, it's tightening up, and then push it down and access the 2 screws to get to the fluid. So going to need a Phillips for the small one and a flathead for the big one. While the bolt is off, this is the perfect time to inspect the rubber seal to make sure it's not cracked to avoid any leakage. And then once that is done, go ahead and top off through the small hole until you see it get full. So because it didn't have like a needle nose head type fitting on the actual bottle, I'm gonna have to use a funnel which requires 2 hands, but pretty much you want to top off the fluid until it gets top over there. As you can see, I spilled, so I'm trying to do it with 1 hand, and essentially this will get topped off too. So just keep an eye on both. And once it gets topped off, you want to seal this one, and then we'll bleed it out, which I'll show afterwards. So when pouring it in, you want to do 1 or 2 drops at a time. If you go a little faster, it's going to overflow like you see over here. Essentially, once this is topped off, you're going to see that this one is also topped off, if not a little overflowed. Go ahead and put this screw back in, wipe the area down, and then work on the bleeding next before putting that bolt on. Alright, with the small hole plugged and cleaned up in the area, to bleed out the air, what you're going to do is grab the pole and pump it a few times. You see all those bubbles? You're going to have some excess spillage, but as long as there's no more bubbles after pumping it, as you can see all the bubbles are coming out, that's the air inside the fluid. So once the bubbles stop, we're going to go ahead and seal it and clean that up as well. So keep doing this until it stops. Once it's tightened down and wiped down with an oil rag, you should go ahead and be able to put it back together and test out the jack. Once everything is put back together, go ahead and test the product out. And as you can see, it is pumping it up smooth like butter. And you can go all the way just to make sure it's working. So, and you can see it is pumped. As you can see, with a few simple steps, you can go ahead and maintain your hydraulic pump on your jack. Now, in a couple of reasons you would be doing this is 1, for a drain and fill and topping it off with new fluid. Or another reason you'd be doing it is because you may have a leak from a broken seal or something, which in this case you would replace the seal, top it off, tighten it up, and then wipe it down and go ahead and test it out. In my case, it was unfortunately because it was leaking some point at some time. It wasn't actively leaking, as you saw. So it probably was something that needed to be topped off because my seal was good, which I did, tighten it down, and of course it was working. So hopefully this was a step-by-step maintenance video for those of you who has trouble with your jacks, and hopefully this was a helpful video for those looking for a solution. If there's any other questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and drop them down below. But until next time, Extreme out.